All right. Looks good, looks good. Alrighty. Well, hello and welcome back to another live stream. My name is Alexis of Ascension Diaries, and today is Wednesday, so we're going to be doing Whiteboard Wednesday as I've been doing the last few weeks. I think we're getting over a month now of Whiteboard Wednesdays. I'm doing live streams on Instagram, YouTube, and in my Telegram group chat right now. I'm also on a voice chat so people can hear me speak, but if they want to watch, they have to go to my YouTube channel or the Instagram, whatever. So, hey, it's nice to see you all. Thanks for joining. Please stick around. Please stick around and enjoy the convo. And I'm just getting everything all ready on all the platforms. Good stuff, good stuff. So I have a whiteboard full of things that I want to share with you. Many of you have been have been watching the activities of today, at least here in North America, and in particular, I would say the USA. Things have been kind of tense, I would say. And it's funny because today fall on my regular scheduled live stream day where I'm going to talk about stuff that is not political, but is going to be other good stuff to bring into your minds. So in a way, this is kind of like diversifying your neurons a little bit from maybe being overstimulated talking about politics today. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm happy to have you all here and joining me. I can't wait to bring up these topics and see what you all think about them. These are some of the things that I've been seeing. Awesome. I'm just seeing there's a little bit of technical difficulty on my YouTube live. I think I might be using too much internet at once. I got a little cocky there, but that's okay. We'll see how it goes. This is just going to be a test anyways. It's just Whiteboard Wednesday. We do this every Wednesday. So, all right, let's get into it. So, first thing that's on my whiteboard for today that I wanted to share with all of you is the word grace, and how I love grace, and how in times where things can be intense or you're trying to manifest change in your life, the call for grace is one I would recommend if you haven't already tried that, because having things gracefully enter into your life and gracefully change in your life it's a lot more manageable, in my opinion. Some people will manifest that they want certain things taken away, they want things to change and drastically, and I've been that person too. As a fiery person, a manifesting generator person, I'm manifesting and generating stuff all day long. I am a one-woman show in a lot of ways, but one thing that I have learned is to welcome in grace during these changes, because some of them can hit you like a truck. And if you ask for the changes, you have to be very, very willing and capable to receive the changes how they come. But if you give that caveat of, hey, I would like this to gracefully manifest into my life, quickly and gracefully is usually what I say, then perhaps it can help with those speed bumps a little bit. It has with my life, but sometimes, even something will come in and it doesn't feel that graceful, and it makes me wonder what it would have been like if I hadn't made that caveat of things being graceful. For example, a couple days ago, when that object flew into the sun on the 18th, on the 18th and 19th, especially the 18th, I was going through a major transformation. And just that morning, I had prayed and asked for this graceful shift of this negativity, this fear and anger and bitterness and resentment and grief to be released out of my body. And I was bedridden basically the entire day. And it was painful, but it wasn't as painful as it could have been. I could have had a full-blown migraine or something like that, and, thrown up and all that stuff, because it was getting there. It was very close. Like, I was quite flu-like during that day. And of course, the next day, whole other situation, felt totally different. And it also showed me what was going on, versus sometimes people will be like, oh, I'm sick. All of a sudden I'm sick. And it's like, no. Sometimes a purge just looks like you're sick, but they don't last very long. Hi everyone on YouTube, it's nice to see you. Crystal and Mowgli, Claudette, it's nice to see you all. Thank you all of you joining here in the Telegram group call. Thank you very much for hanging out. I see some of you, Petunia, Victoria, Leaf, Jemena, I'm seeing all of you on Instagram. It's nice. All right, so the first thing is grace. I also saw the word grace many, many times from people's names, from people saying things, and it's another word that they use actually when you want to say a prayer. They say grace. And we were talking about how the word prayer has a little bit of a strange connotation sometimes. And so if you'd prefer, when you're making these intentions out in the universe, prefer to use the word grace. Also, instead of bless, which in French is actually a bit of an insult. The word bless is more of a negative term. And so, for those of us who feel that way about the word bless sometimes, grace is also another replacement word that we've used. So, grace you and gracings and, things like that. It's a lot of the word magic that people are reworking. A lot of friends of mine are reworking a lot of word, and they call it word magic. So I'm just going to change the color of this light. There we go. So I wanted to share the word grace with you, and this time I'd like to share the energy of grace. Would like to grace you with my presence and all of these things that I want to talk about today. There's a variety of things. So the first thing's a little bit religious, a little bit spiritual. The next thing that I want to jump into is something that my family and I, or my husband and I really, have been tossing over a lot, and that's cryptocurrency. And so we've been watching from the beginning, really, when cryptocurrency has kind of made itself apparent in the scene through Bitcoin and so on. And at that time, I did not engage with it energetically. I did not feel comfortable with it. I found it confusing, and I also found it kind of dangerous. So at that time, I wasn't a much thing. But now I've married somebody who has had this immense divine inspiration to recently get involved and invest in specifically XRP, but other cryptos as well that he's experimenting with, not Bitcoin, but XRP. And there is a whole backstory of why he's doing that. If you want to figure that out and see where he's coming from, and if that seems like it's something that's coming up over and over for you, please, I'd invite you to go to his YouTube channel. His YouTube channel is called Cosmic Origins. Please go head over there. He has recent videos about that, his whole synchronistic, his own outlook on it, and so on, and make those decisions for yourself, of course. But what I have been asking him over and over is, how do you spend it? How do we transform, your dollar, your US dollar, to this cryptocurrency dollar? And how would you be able to continue using that to gain resources from public areas of market, public market, like the grocery store or wherever? Pretty much the only place I really go is the grocery store. So anyways, we are now seeing that there is this bridge happening, and these cards are coming out where you can use your cryptocurrency with certain cards. And one that's really popular that has a symbol of a lion in also, I believe, is probably I would say, the main cryptocurrency managing card, I would say, out there, is called crypto.com. Your own opinions about this particular platform, what other platforms you're using for this, if you would recommend one for us, and so on. I want to start opening up the conversation about cryptocurrency because I have questions about it. And although my husband has his own answers and so on about these things, we also have questions. We also have, what's the word? We're investigating more so, and this is the next step for us. So we were wondering what you thought, if you're already using it, and what you would recommend about that, if this is something that you're working with. Because personally, I've been obviously through all of the changes with social media and website ownership and the movement of money that's all happening before our very eyes. It's like we're kind of just trying to keep afloat and see where the future's going and where we can continue walking forward with our own creative endeavors using the internet to reach our audiences, which is really that's what we use it for. And then we use all these services to help move wealth around from the physical wealth in our hands into a digital form across the borders, across the planet, in a much faster movement than me writing you a check or putting a bunch of bills in an envelope and mailing it to you. This process has evolved, and we're watching the evolution of that, and I'm seeing that this is going to be more so present in 2021 and in the future. I'm beginning to accept that reality and also cautiously manage that and go through that. So I'm interested in hearing your feedback. As a source for my website and my donations and so on, my Patreon, all of that goes into a PayPal account at the time. But PayPal takes a percentage of the earnings, quite a large percentage, and it's making me go, okay, why not have a cryptocurrency sort of deal with this, with the work that I'm doing? If this is a direction, let's move in that direction. But it's still a foggy situation for me personally, and I'm wondering if you can build your own website and make your own blockchain and make your own coins, even if that would be beneficial. I'm experimenting now cautiously with moving into this realm, and I'm wondering what you as an audience member, and maybe somebody who's already using cryptocurrency on their own websites for their own businesses to work in commerce, I would love to hear from you and what you've seen work and so on. And yeah, so the next thing I want to get into, we're going to switch gears again, is some dreams and some journaling. So I have had a couple very interesting dreams the last couple days. Obviously, the energies have been wild. We've been going through a big timeline shift. A lot of us just witnessed some things that they did not expect were going to be happening on this timeline, and that was a lot of emotional purging and trauma and experience for a lot of people. And I was personally purging and feeling like the world's weight on my shoulders. I was totally off the internet yesterday, having a complete break and withdrawal, because I was then brought into the astrals last night in a more serious way, without the I would say the blue light or whatever they shoot through the technology that I look at, without the influence of that for a whole day, which was a really good cleanse for somebody who uses it every single day. And last night I experienced multiple things, which I then saw a lot of it happen during the inauguration today, very similar looking things. And it also gives me hints of what may still happen today, because we're just in the middle of the day and it's 1:11. So that's another great sign. So I wanted to tell you what I saw. If you guys are in my Telegram chat, those of you listening right now, you may have seen my dream. I'd like to share with you, because I have a feeling a lot of you are getting dreams. My good friend Nicole Frolic just shouted me out on her channel because because of the object that flew into the sun the other day, and she had just had a dream about that, and I was like, I just watched it physically happen. And last night I was in, I would say, let's say around 4 different locations. So the first location, it looked like the White House, or not the White House, where it was that they were swearing them in, that giant looking, very beautiful building. It could be a mansion or so on. But for me, my back was facing the mansion in the time, but I knew that there was motorcades of people coming out of their cars, coming out in lovely clothing, going inside, and I was being humiliated and teased in a way by some women and men by the way that I looked and the way that I was dressed at the time, because I was just wearing, and I have the dress, a dress that I probably spent $10 on, which is made out of a quite cheap fabric, whatever. I don't think about the dress that way personally, but they were pointing out that my clothing was they were saying I was basically an embarrassment to them, and that I was a disgrace to the class and the party and the people there because of how poorly and how poor I was dressed. And I was just like big deal, didn't really bother me. Entered my vehicle and then moved on to the next location, but I was being basically swept out of that place, rejected out of that place based off of my class and my wealth and the way I looked. And they were triggered by my existence, which was interesting. It was like they were just throwing out whatever insults they could, because I was already successfully leaving the building from doing my mission, if you know what I'm saying. Whatever it was I was doing, for me it was more like an attending of this thing and looking and watching everyone and observing them, which I do a lot, and then I just leave. But I didn't leave unnoticed, which I've noticed more and more in the dreams. Is I used to be able to be more sneaky, but now I'm being watched and followed more in my dreams during these things, which is also a sign that things are getting more serious in a way, and they're more afraid of operants like this, in my opinion. So the second location was in my opinion, some type of skyscraper in downtown New York or Chicago or some type of large city. I have not been to either of those cities personally in this life, So I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, but that was the impression I was under. It was a very large city, some skyscraper building. Where I was inside was filled with, and it reminded me of a place where you would do voting or putting in law or putting in action or having like a company meeting, but it was very elegant. It was very regal feeling, but it was red color. All the chairs and the walls and the fabric, was like a crushed red color, like a crushed velvet like color, and then there was gold trimming everywhere, very golden red vibe, which may remind you of a certain country. It may remind you of a certain building that politics happens within. These are the colors. They were very blaring, and I was at the very front of this room, but in the room was chaos. The chairs were being emptied, people were storming and piling in, and all I could see was cameras, but not normal cameras, but like little handheld, almost like little orbs or balls, like these cameras, and they were sticking them everywhere, sticking them all over the walls. Everyone was holding them. They were storming in, and it was like, we're filming it, we're catching it, here it is. And the chaos of that room was so intense. It was like I ran up on the wall, and I ran into like up and away to another floor and into an elevator I found, which was not a normal elevator, I guess. And this secret elevator that I found took me to a floor of this giant building. While there was a siege of truth seekers whom I recognized by their face. I knew some of them would be people who are truth tellers and so on, people who are in alternative media on Twitter and so on. I saw those faces coming in and with their phones and with their cameras and trying to capture this like act and like take over this place. And I go up this elevator by myself, and I'm kind of trying to escape in a way the energies of that experience. But also I know, or I'm working with it, but the energy is too intense for me of that situation. I go up, I see a CEO that's just basically wandering around an office room up in the tower. He's looking outside, looking at all the other skyscrapers, and he's by himself. Everything's barren. It's gray. There's nobody else really in there, and I'm just looking at him, and he looks very distraught, and I think there was another person in there. They're having some type of discussion, and it didn't look good. It looked very grim for this person, like as if their whole life was just crumbling around them. And who he reminded me of was Michael Scott from The Office. Fun story. I'm like, okay, this is not where I want to be. I can't get away from these vibes. Like, this is not good. This tower's coming down, basically. So I get back in the elevator, and someone barely makes it, and the elevator doors shut on her, because I was like, I don't want to see or be or interact with these people. These are obviously criminals, and people are being arrested right now, all of these people. So I get out of the building. Thankfully, I get down through this secret elevator. I get out. I'm walking, and I skirt into a group of tourists in a way that are walking around the city aimlessly, sightseeing, how people do. They go to these big cities, they walk around and take pictures of these big ass buildings where all these crimes are being committed inside. But yeah, so I'm hiding myself amongst a group of people. They walk into this park that's within the downtown area, green space. And what I'm shocked to see in this park are these massive, like huge golden statues and art pieces of Hindu gods. And the ones that I saw, the first one I saw was a woman, I believe, or it was like a female or a Buddha sort of like statue. It was hard to tell who that was. I'm not as familiar with all the Hindu gods, especially the female ones. Figures, but it's true. And then I looked down and towards this path, and there's more, and there's statues of Ganesh and statue of Brahma. They were saying, oh, look over there's Brahma. And in the distance of the park, I could see this big setup where, again, by these gold statues, this intense energy of idol worship in a way, but also the presence. But it didn't feel like the presence of these gods. It kind of did, but it was more of the idol worship of these gods. And it was like, again, very opulent, the gold, obscenely large in this city of obscenely tall towers and so on. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of this city. And I somehow get out. I get to some friend's house. Shout out to them. I'll have to text them today and thank them for having me, because maybe they dreamt about me last night. I haven't even gotten to tell them, but I went to their house, told them everything, and they were like, whoa. And then we realized that it was, snowing or so on. And all I really wanted to do was go skiing. Like, it was just like, finally, like, I'm done dealing with all that crap, all those people, all of these investigations, all of these cities, and all of this idol worship, and all of this opulence and shit, because people are terrible. And I'm tired of it. I'm way overwhelmed by all of this. And let's just go skiing, which is one of my happy places. And a friend of mine, again, had more dreams about snow today, and during the inauguration it began to snow on these people. So for me it was kind of like, okay. And during the inauguration I saw a lot of red and gold. I saw this opulent party with very well dressed people who were very inclusive, and this whole tower, this whole room with many rooms that people make big decisions for the whole country, being stormed by cameras, camera angles everywhere, the whole building catching everything. So it was a very interesting connection. But maybe it's actually going to snow today, and maybe there is going to be something that does show up for righting the crimes against humanity publicly for us today. We'll see. But perhaps it's going to snow, and we're all going to want to go skiing tomorrow. I don't know, but that's what I woke up wanting, and I'm sharing all of this with you because I believe that the dreams during these times are really intense. And a lot of us do get some type of prophetic clue to, in a way, to, in my opinion, for your minds to understand and sort of comprehend what's going on. It kind of, you process it a little bit beforehand, and then you see it in another version. I am on my computer. Okay. Oh, on the YouTube. And it's because I'm using other things as well. Actually, no, that's the problem. There we go. It should be working through the Ethernet cord. That's the problem. I wasn't using the Ethernet. Hopefully, I just switched it over. Hopefully that didn't just screw it all up. Looks like we're doing fine. Cross finger, maybe that'll help. Let me know if that actually worked. So anyways, dreams. So, you guys are telling me some funny dreams. 22 viewers at 222. Nice one. I'm just looking at a few of your comments. Did you listen to the inaugural post? How is that comment showing up? That's interesting. Oh, the chat box. I'm gonna delete this. All right. I'm just reading comments for a second, you guys. 1 second. What is your Telegram? The Telegram should be in the links below my YouTube video, the channel and the chat right now. We definitely need some more light workers in the chat. That would be awesome. These people are very high society. Yes, it seems like it. I just dreamt of a large skyscraper in New York City. There was huge waves crashing against the lower floors. People were freaking out. Wow. I had a dream last night that I had a baby. After you and your partner have been fighting a lot about a new beginning. And you just finished tattooing the name of the baby on a couple who miscarried. Wow. And your name's Grace. Hey, Grace. Nice to see you. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, those babies. The baby dreams are always next level, in my opinion. It's these little baby souls. They get real deep sometimes with the messages that they send. These little spirits of the unborn children. Nicole Frolic also had a dream about snow like last night. I know, her and I are in a group chat together. We discussed it this morning. So then to see the actual snow falling on Inauguration Day was like, oh, weird. Except it barely snowed. I was like, come on. I want them to just get dumped in a pile of snow. That would have been funny. But that's why I'm not the one making the plan, apparently, because my sense of humor is a little too intense, apparently. It's just, I guess no one can handle all of these extremes. Gotta just tiptoe through everything like delicate little fragile flowers, perhaps. Any suggestions for dream interpretation? Well, when interpreting your dreams is really based off of, in my opinion, the context of your waking life, and also the people that you've been engaging with lately, because they say, and I've now understood, there is a realm that we can go when we are in deep meditation or in dream time, and they call it the astral plane. And the astral plane has many layers based off of your vibration. You know, they say that you will experience certain beings that also just reside there, and that's their playground. And if you're in a certain vibration, they can mess with you and feed off of your fear and so on. And then there's areas where you can literally dream of God, of Jesus, of the archangels. You can interact and engage with energies that are super, super pure, like purest source energy. And it's like this safe zone where a lot of things can happen where you're not actually going to be, you know, totally harmed. How many people have died in dreams or had horrible, mangled experiences, but they woke up totally fine? And that was just like, wow, and really makes you think. It breaks you out of your pattern, a lot of these dreams too. So that's how I would recommend you interpret them, is just watch what happens the next day, watch what goes on, talk to the people you saw in your dreams, and more clues will come up. I believe a lot of it is to show you that the realms exist and that the timing of everything is very close but not quite. So in my dream realm, in a way, things happen first. And sometimes it feels like I'm walking into another reality, another version of Earth that's a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, and a little bit more ahead time-wise. So when I wake up that day, I play out a lot of those archetypes that I already did in my dream. And it shows up differently in this plane, but the two areas can look very similar to each other. And that ability is, in my opinion, a way to, again, advance consciously as a being and grow and learn and pick up things from the universe that you need on your journey. It's a part of your mastery and remembering of all of the timelines and all of the things moving around. I had a super weird dream, a dream with birds the night before last. Oh, okay, nice. I had a strange dream that I had to return a rental van. They wouldn't let me return until I filled a hot tub with water. Well, hey, Luke, maybe you need a hot tub. I dreamt last night that I was swimming with manatees in a crystal clear water. They kept asking me to stay deep in the water with them. I also was at the gym doing pull-ups without ever fatiguing. Wow, those are both wonderful things. Nice dreams, you guys. Very nice. Very nice. Enjoying reading your dreams. Okay, so thanks, Victoria. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you like my lipstick. I appreciate it. So what I would recommend as well for interpreting your dreams, because they do come and go so quickly, especially because we tend to wake up and jump right into our reality, and a lot of our reality, a lot of people, first thing they do is they check in on the virtual reality, because that's where they have a lot of emotional investment because of their friends and the storylines and narratives that they are trying to manifest for the world, basically. And it's very important. But what I was pushed very hard the last 2 days was to wake up and not touch my technology, was to take care of myself and journal, which most of you probably do. But for some of us, it's kind of hard, especially when you get excited and you're like, oh, got to check my phone, and all 40, billion things that could have happened while I was asleep. The whole other side of the earth was popping and doing stuff, and I want to check in. But journaling is a process for interpreting your dreams as well, because you will write down your whole dream, every single detail you remember, colors, places, people, privately for yourself, because you don't want anyone judging your dreams either. Really, this is for you. This is a personal experience, in my opinion. What you share is your choice, but in your journal, it's your private place where you really can work through all of these things that you saw, and yes, and engage. And you'll notice that all the things you write down, the pictures you draw, which I do, even just in 24, 48 hours, half of those things that didn't make sense may make way more sense. But writing it down gives relevance, and it gives reverence to the process of the dreaming and of your sleep time, because just as important as your day is your sleep, in my opinion, and the dreams you're having. And the more on board that you get with your dream time, the more you'll probably be given as a responsibility, and the more of your abilities you'll get back as an astral traveler and doing these missions, these investigations, and so on. Like, I literally did all of that from my dream, and then I would share it with you. And I truly love that. Journaling makes that neural process of from sleep to awake memory recall. It makes those neurons stronger, and it just takes practice. Basically everybody who tried a backflip first didn't do it so good, but after a couple times or and some training and some dedication, you can nail and land a backflip every single time. You know what I'm saying? So it just takes a little bit of effort and self-love, I would say. And it really is self-love. And some of these things we're like, well, we're too busy for it, or I never remember. There's also ways to open those doors again. You have to change certain patternings of what you ingest and at what time. Technology, food, and so on. You can also ingest things that will heighten your dreaming, like mugwort is one I want to try and enter and work with more. I've been drinking valerian tea. I drank all day yesterday. All day, a lot of valerian tea. And so I believe that would help me as well, because I passed out super early and was like gone. I was out last night, and I'm glad because I enjoyed my time investigating the world and seeing these dreams and sharing them with you today. I feel very rested, so worked out. But there's lots of things. Ormus was another thing I took that really enhanced my dream time. If you have, make it a priority. Rebudget some things. It's worth it, and I know that I'm speaking it to myself too. So that's what I would recommend. And journaling as well. I have a journal that's literally a fluffy panda. It looks like a fluffy panda, and it's soft, like tactile wise. And my, tactile self really loves having the journal. I give a lot of love to the journal. It's like a stuffed animal to me. And I do readings for myself, and I write them down, and I draw pictures, and I draw my dreams, and I'm also writing and manifesting my goals in there now on a daily basis. What are my goals? And this is in a way to help with fear, because I've been having a lot of fears come up, which I think is pretty normal, but it's showing me more and more. Like, it's hard to even admit that things are fears sometimes, but they are. And you think you're fearless, and then all of a sudden you realize you've been reacting to a thing out of fear, and you haven't even noticed that was the base emotion. You're just angry and frustrated, and it's like, well, it's because you're afraid. You're afraid of what's going to happen if you don't have control over this thing. And it's just like, it's constantly me, a personal journey as well. But this journaling has helped me write down the fears and then write down what I'm going to do about the fears. And that organizes your brain in such a helpful way, in my opinion. Blue Lotus also helps dreams. Yes, I have some Blue Lotus. Maybe that's what I'll try. Hi, Nicole. I just talked about you. That's what I'm going to try tonight. Maybe I'll have some Blue Lotus, and I bought some for tea. You can smoke Blue Lotus and have it as a tea. I'm just going to do tea. I'm trying to stay hydrated for now. But yeah, good times. So let's move on to the next thing on the whiteboard. The next thing on the whiteboard says moving to Hawaii. So here we go. We're changing. That's why it's Whiteboard Wednesday, because it's just like random turns into like different things that my brain has gone through. And doing this is also like a journal entry for me. You're in the Ascension Diaries. Like, this is my public journal in a way. And so moving to Hawaii is a big thing that's coming through with my family. My husband really wants to move to Hawaii. I've never been there. My grandmother passed away before she got to go there from terminal cancer. So that it has like an emotional thing for me. My parents have recently visited Hawaii the first time, so my blood has made it there, my bloodline in a way. And my grandparents also visit there probably every year, my other grandparents. And so there is some energetic, ancestral energy in Hawaii now that I'm excited to go explore once we get that opportunity. But of course, during all of the travel right now in the world, it's kind of like a hairy situation. But we keep seeing that some miraculous event's going to happen, and we're going to be able to move to Hawaii together and be New Zealand is another one that's coming up a lot. So one of these places, we keep seeing water, beach, fruit trees, being able to grow your own food year round, basically, and a lot more energetic, I would say, not privacy, but energetic breathing room, I would say. Some aura, not oral, but AURAL, oral, like your aurora, yeah, your aurora that comes out of you, basically. that space and that expansion, and being able to not have to bounce your energy fields off of telephone towers and all that, like giving yourself some room, snorkeling with the fish and being in the salt water, being immersed, being moist again, being amongst trees that make fruit, a bountiful harvest. You don't have to kill the trees to eat from the trees. You know, the trees can just keep alive, and they just give you all these presents with their fruit, and you don't have, you know, it's the most bountiful, generous, one of the most bountiful, generous food sources on the planet that doesn't cause any harm. There's no harm. So that's the direction I'm taking my diet. So we really want to do that. We've been manifesting that, and bringing our animals with us there too. And so in a way, for me, I imagine we're just going to get a private plane, and we're just going to have to fly our butts out there and buy a piece of property and set up a place, and then y'all can come hang out with us and come visit and take a little vacay, little retreat. Once in a while we could host retreats for people and so on. Like that's what we would like. But I feel on our journey and what we're doing, that is coming in a way, and it also makes me nervous. And so I have these, like, I am nervous about it and also excited about it. I truly believe I always was going to live on the water, because I've seen it so many times. I see like mountainous, island-like water, and I love snorkeling. It's one of my favorite things to do. I was a landlocked child. I didn't know much of the ocean growing up, but once I experienced it and knew it, it was like what I ever really thought about going back to. So to live by the ocean every day in a calm, calm, safe ocean, warm also, need that warm water. It's good. So those of you already in Hawaii, hit me up. If you need somebody to take over your home while you go to your other home somewhere else, and you need some people to look after your house, maybe we'll help you out, whatever. But it's just something that keeps coming up. So I just wanted to share that with all of you, if Hawaii's been coming into your consciousness too, because it's not just Hawaii, it's the history of the planet. It's the calling of the land. And that's kind of how I think about things these days, is more so where and what and how is this land informing the world, and what is it that we can do there, or what is it that is needed there that we can offer our skills to as conduits of spirit, conduits of source, and in these areas. And as we live in Sedona now, it was apparent why we were here during this time and what we offer to the community in a way. And it's a lot of people who live here also have been to Maui, and they talk about all the time. It's like Sedona and Maui have this sister connection, or this there's probably a portal here that people can just walk in and show up in Hawaii. And maybe that's how we're going to get there, is they're just going to tell us where these portals are, and then be like, all right, 50 people in a day, 50 people out a day, or whatever they want to make the rule or something, to like make sure we don't get all squashed in a portal. But these are the things that we're seeing and excited about. All I see is like the sea turtles and the little fish, and just getting that replenishing energy back, that life force that's bubbling out of that volcanic area, this area where life is being formed. And also there's history of these areas, of Atlantis or Lemuria. Atlantis, I think, is in the Gulf Coast area, but I could be wrong. But Lemuria and so on. And there's, ancient history on that place and so on. There's a lot of magic there. So I've wanted to go for so long, and for some reason it feels like that's what we're going to do. We're eventually going to make it there. So maybe by this time next year I'll be streaming from Hawaii and being like, we did it. I've seen plenty of people manifest things like that for themselves. So it's a joy in a way to like capture it now and share it with you now, that that's where we want to go. And I'd love to get any recommendations or whatever from those of you who already live there or lived there, of sacred sites and things that we'd like to go to and engage with and so on. That would be really cool. So that is that last point on the board. I want to move back so badly. I would love to meet you two at some point, maybe there, perhaps. Need a gardener? Yeah, we need a gardener. That's funny. All right, so what's next here? Friends versus friendly is what I wrote next. So this has been a theme that's been coming through a lot this year. Oh, sorry, one second. I'm just going to read Instagram. I recently started journaling. It has changed my life. Love that. Maui is probably the favorite place you've ever been. Awesome. That's what I've heard. I've heard good things. I've been watching live streams of the sun rising at Hawaii, because it's just, we watch the sunrise here and then we turn on the stream and we watch the sunrise in Hawaii a couple hours later. It's pretty cool. But we're connecting on a deep level with the energy there and the energy grid there. And maybe it's just because we may be psychically picking up on a huge shift that's going to happen there, and then we're going to move there or something. I'm not sure, but we're feeling something coming. So the next thing I wrote is friend versus friendly. And this is a topic I wanted to talk to you all about, because most of you who watch my live streams, we've not met in person. Some of you have been really lucky to actually meet in person and maintain a friendship and a trust with you over years. But there's also people that I've met, and also people who I've never met, who consider me a friend, or would consider me a friend, but have lacked friendliness in a way, or there is this title of friend with no real behavior of friend, if you know what I'm saying. And so friendly is more so how I feel about certain people that I've met, and most of the people that I are now following my work and so on. I'm friendly to a lot of people because I genuinely wish that, through friendliness, that I can bud genuine, loving friendships with people. And that's my intention. So that's why I am friendly with a lot of people. And I'm also friendly with people whom I do not want to grow deeper trust and friendships with, because I respect them and I wish to be treated friendly in return no matter what. Even though maybe I don't trust them, I wish to be friendly with them, because there's also reasons why I don't trust people that are based out of my own distortions and my own fears and my own, I would say, immaturity. As a 27-year-old person, I don't have all the answers about how everything's supposed to look and turn out. Sometimes I find that I'm just sitting here learning things for the very first time about people and about relationships. But when it comes to friends, that was one thing and a lesson that I learned really early in life, because I was rejected often and consistently by people I would have called my friends at the time. But what was wrong with the situation was that I was claiming people were my friends when they had shown no signs of friendliness to me. It was all one-sided. It was all me trying to gauge and be kind and engage and be friendly and join forces and gain trust and fellowship with people, where their hearts were not open to that, and for whatever reason. And it was always so heartbreaking to me, because I'd say, well, these are my friends. How could my friends treat me this way? But they were not my friends. And that's something that I had to learn, was that there's a lot of people we may claim are our friends, but if you really think about it, have they been friendly to you? Have they been checking on you? Do they care about your life? Do they care about your accomplishments? Do they celebrate your accomplishments with you? Or are there these people critical of you? Do they only reach out to you when they need something? Do they only reach out to you when you are relevant in the conversation? And so again, I learned a lot of these lessons about people when I was really young, and it was very heartbreaking for me, because I believe I most likely, came from a lifestyle previous to this place in time that I'm living, where people were friendlier and we were more open to be in fellowship, more open to cooperate with one another and be respectful to one another and who they are, and more forgiving and compassionate for their quirks and their differences, instead of just one little quirk completely going and pushing them completely out of your life, or claiming or saying one negative thing about that person and then never giving them a chance to discuss your concerns with them. They would just cut you right out like you were nothing. And again, that is not what a friend would do. You would not do that to a friend. And so why would you allow a friend to do that to you? If someone's doing that to you, they're instantly showing you that they were never your friend, and that they They had different goals with their relationship with you than you did. And I've had to learn this, and I'm sharing this, thought with all of you. I'm sure many of you have gone through this, but there's a lot of people who I've met even who are in communities and go to these conferences of disclosure and consciousness and awakening. And at these conferences, they're very friendly with you. And that's good, because we have a lot of common interests. We share a lot of same sense of humor. And then after the event, the friendliness is gone and the friendship is not there, or it's assumed maybe on one party or maybe by both parties, but there is no upkeep of that friendship. There's no checking in on that friendship. There's no real genuine care about that person, more so about the fact that they are on your team, or they are in your group, or they are in your following, or so on. And there's been this broken schism of being a human amongst humans in your fellowship versus being a creator amongst followers and competitors in your what's the word, in your culture of career, or so on, in your bubble of influence. There's some people see each other as competitors, or so on, and there is this cattiness and this lying, and that's so on. And again, I didn't have a lot of faith in people from a young age that the friendliness that they would show me in brief times meant friendship, and meant that this would grow, and that they actually did genuinely care about you. So it's been hard. It's been hard to watch. It was hard as a child. I would weep and weep and be so upset, and my parents would try and give me explanations as to why people would behave the way they did, and that it wasn't my fault, and so on. But since I've grown, I've just learned, and I've honestly, in a way, lost that eagerness to be people's friends in scenarios like this, amongst peers at these events and so on. And I genuinely wanted to, and the reason why I go to them is to make friends. But I also know that, you can make friends there, but those friends will not last. And it's just a convenience of the moment. But that's okay. I've learned that that's a behavior people do. So I would just wanted to share that and just be like, hey, if you genuinely want to be friends with someone, then be sure that not just extending them friendliness in the beginning and then expecting, them to be your friend forever. But the friend is it's a continual support system, in my opinion. Being a friend is somebody who actually knows about you and celebrates your wins and so on. And I've met people who, through all of these platforms and so on, that are like that and are genuinely like that. And I have faith in them, and I have trusted them, bringing them into my life. But again, another part about friendship is that, again, a lot of the times friendships need to last a little while. And to fully trust somebody, sometimes it takes years and years of friendliness and trust between people before, you get to certain levels of intimacy. And I believe I used to not understand that as much, but now I do. And I've only had so many friends last more than a year, in a way, or their friendliness only lasted more than a year or more than a month, and so on. And people drift apart, and that's okay. And I've learned, I've accepted that. I accept that people grow and they move on, and like nodes in the brain are like crashing waves or particles in the air. Sometimes you only meet once and you have a great electric moment, and then you're gone, and you've made an influence on each other, and you're gone. But there's a lot of people out there who consider themselves friends of people, but who don't extend friendliness to them very often, or if at all. And it's just a one-sided experience. And I believe that as we're evolving in this age of Aquarius is coming through, that this is going to become more obvious to people, and that they're going to be valuing friendship more, and being with your like peers, and being a support system to each other, instead of, in a way, how we've seen things, where people will build themselves up on these pyramids or these pedestals and then look down upon the rest of the people who whatever. It's this level playing field that we're seeing, and friendliness and friendship is going to be much more, I would say, much more valuable much more valuable than it's been. And I believe that it has great, great value. And the value I have is the friends that I keep. And as well, I do not allow anyone who is rude to me, condescending to me, judgmental, extremely judgmental of me, to consider themselves a friend of mine. And I do not consider them a friend of mine either, because they are not friendly. And that just completely disregards the whole point of being a friend. And I feel like a lot of people keep people in their lives and consider them friends when they are not friendly to them. And it's a toxic experience, and it really is you causing yourself suffering, because there's billions of people on the planet, and there is so much more to experience, and people's judgments of you and their opinions about things are not the authority. There's a lot of children that were raised to think that their opinion was the most important in the room, and a lot of those children grew up to be very nasty, self-centered, and twisted people who are suffering because they cannot keep relationships and they cannot stay happy. And there's poison in them that they're needing to suck out. And sometimes, we'll trigger the poison in people. And even a falling out with a friend could be a life-changing thing for them to realize something about themselves. But it is funny that people think their opinion is the best and the most important, and that we must all stop and hear what they have to say because their opinion is obviously the most important. Again, that is not a friend. Friends see themselves as amongst peers and in a community, and they offer love and friendship to those around them, in my opinion. So I'm seeing a lot of shifts in that. I am seeing a lot of people who claim they're friends of mine or friends of other people, and then they say horrible things about them or very judgmental things about them. And I just have to shrug and be like, well, you're not a friend. You're just not being a friend. And I've just watched this shit happen for so long. Part of my life path has been watching how people are extremely dishonest and unkind and uncouth with each other, and how they could just drop you, like no matter how nice you are to them, they'll just drop you or judge you, and then you're completely written off for them. And I think that those things are getting flushed out a little bit because nothing is quite as it seems. And thankfully, as the rising of consciousness is happening, these conversations can happen, and people can realize if they are actually being a good friend, or if the friends that they think they have are actually good friends to them. And I just wanted to share that with you and put that out there, because clearing out people who do not serve you, who are not friends, is only going to open up space for true love to come into your life, true friendship to come into your life in the place of the people who are not giving you love. And I wish for love for everyone, even the people who you may have to remove as a friend or as a trusted ally in your life. Doing that and giving and being honest about why you're doing it may completely change their life. If you can say it in a nice, honest way, obviously a non-judgmental way, you have to try and say it non-judgmentally. Don't be the judge. Just be honest about how you feel, or you don't have to say anything. Just do it through your actions. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone, especially people who are not kind and could possibly attack you for what you say. Why consent to that kind of response if you just completely stop engaging with that person? They may completely just not even notice because they're not your friend. You know what I mean? They'll just carry on. And I've been noticing that happening a lot lately, and people in the communities, even if they've just glanced at you for just a moment, or if they're a friend of yours on Facebook, they expect all of these things of you. And it's like, do you even know me? You don't know me. And our friendship is very young and fresh. And so, give it some time. And if you really want to be my friend, you'll be here and you'll know me more, and our friendship will grow in age. Otherwise, fresh friendships with people is a trial period for me personally. And it's not that I don't have faith in people, it's that I've learned not to fully give away my power of how I feel and how I feel about myself to other people as easily as I used to. And yeah, let's see. How is it that you're hitting topics that are so relevant to me right now? You're welcome. I'm glad that we're all on the same page. I've been on the both giving and receiving end of this energy. Yes, I'd say It's funny because I was quick story. One of my most heartbreaking experiences was when I was close. I had a very close friend group in the last years of high school, which is always nice. A lot of them were very academic people, and they all went on some road trip together, and I couldn't go because I was with my family. And on that road trip, they group texted me that I was a bitch and that I shouldn't have said what I said and I was a horrible person. And I got this text out of the blue and was like, beg your pardon? Like, I had never been called such a name in my life. And I was only sending them, like, have fun on your trip. See you when you get back. It was like, no, you suck. And I was like, this car full of my friends have now all of a sudden turned on me and all at once decided that I was not worth their time because of a miscommunication with one person in that vehicle who lied in a way. She lied to all of them about what happened in the situation completely. And I was not given a time to say my word. I wasn't offered my blah, blah, blah. This shit happens, okay? Sob story. You guys have probably all had a similar experience or have heard of one. That's not the point of this. Going into university with absolutely no friends was very hard, and I didn't speak about it for quite a few weeks because it was very hard. But I went in there. I was a fresh new person, no attachments. I made a whole bunch of new friends through a sorority because it was like I was walking around the fair. They saw a lonely woman. They're like, "You need to be in a sorority. You want some friends?" I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want some friends." Like, great timing. I have none to work with right now. Don't know how university works. Would really like somebody to, bounce life off of, and that worked out. And in that time, I met all these people, made all these new possible friends, and not a single one of them lasted. And I even had one throw me a birthday party, completely disregard me as the actual birthday person. And then my boyfriend at the time was like, these are not friends. Like, they didn't even buy you a drink. They didn't even, they don't care about you. They're throwing themselves a party and you're just here. And I was just like, you know what, you're right. And I was able to finally move on from that. And then since then, it's been a lot smoother of a ride. And thankfully, but it has been a long process. And I've met people now, adults, people older than me in these communities, people who claim to be conscious, claim to be kind and ever loving. And again, I've had similar experiences, not as intense, thank God, but again, came upon people claiming to be a friend. They don't actually do friendly things. Not actually a friend. So it's just funny how these things happen. And it hasn't stopped me from wanting to be friends with people and enjoy friendship. Quite the contrary. I enjoy them as they last, and I enjoy the friendliness as it comes. And I know that either it's me or whatever, but there's something about friendships that for some reason they don't last that long in my life. And I've been learning why. I'm trying to understand why. And the friendship that I have with a few people now have lasted now like 4 friends from that, and they are friendly to me and they do reach out to me, and I'm in their dreams and they'll tell me, and then we go on each other's YouTube channels and we help each other out, and we go visit each other where we live, and it's a beautiful thing. So friendship can happen. It's all about who you consider a friend and what kind of standards you hold for that, because I didn't have standards before. I didn't have standards. I didn't know that was something you could have when it came to friendships, but now it's something I very much appreciate, because I could have avoided a lot of pain in the past if I actually observed and like didn't put in all the effort myself. But I just wanted to share that. I'm new to this tribe. I can feel the love. Oh, you guys are sweet. Quality over quantity. Absolutely. I went to 100 friends on Facebook to the 2 I speak to now, and I am okay with that. Excellent. It's nice. Oh, people are introducing. Hi, Monique. It's nice to be. Yes, there's another friend I've had a while on the internet. She sent us some Mandara crystals, and she'll do readings for me sometimes. Those are sweet little things. That's friendship. That's kindness. And those people really are to be valued. And I appreciate that. I've been able to still be warm-hearted enough to like welcome in good friendship and kindness from people. after the pain that I've experienced. And it's been tough, but I'm so grateful that I've become so very wise at a young age about how people really can be. And it's saved me a lot of trouble here in my, I would say, my professional life, which is kind of a stretch. Thank you, Monique. That's very sweet. Amen. Amen. All right. So now that we've gone through the friend topic, just for the day, who's next? Okay, so as some of you may have noticed, on Sunday I was not present for church. I didn't host church, which is like, uh-oh. Thankfully, I've only been doing this a few weeks, so people weren't that disappointed. But some people were. They were like, yo, where are you? And I was like, I was totally cement head. I was dead. So I had a recommendation to talk about during church that I thought I'd just talk about now because, again, I think we got to move. I have to keep moving onward and allowing the new messages to come through the videos instead of getting too far logged back. So anyways, what I wrote down, somebody asked me to talk about it during our church live stream, was marriage. And so we're moving from friends to marriage here. But again, the two are very interrelated. And that's something that I was allowed to see growing up through my parents' marriage. Was they would say, yes, even though they drive each other crazy sometimes, they know that, at the end of the day and through the rest of their life, that they are friends. They are good friends. They can trust each other. They enjoy each other's company. If all of their children and friends and family died or left, they'd know that they'd have each other and that they could, they would live with each other. They laugh at each other's jokes. They relate to each other and enjoy going on trips and exploring together and so on. And that's how I feel about my own husband, about Jace, about my partner. And, we do drive each other crazy in ways, but I think it's honestly because we're young again, and we have a lot of distortions in us about expectations and about what we think we're supposed to be doing with our time and energy, and we have totally different ideas about that sometimes. And it's unfathomable to me sometimes that my goals and my expectations of how things are supposed to be done or whatever aren't shared by the person I have so much in common with, like ridiculous amount in common with, from my perspective, compared to all of the men that I had dated in my past, whom I care for and I cared for very much, and they were friendly to me, but in a way they weren't an everlasting friend, and they were not. I didn't care to argue with them about beliefs or really about my opinions about things. We mostly cooperated on everything, and there was less of this, but there was also less love. There was less of a true investment. But now that you're married, it's the investment of a lifetime. It's an investment of a lifetime to this person. Traditionally, obviously, that's not always the case. There's plenty of people who get married, learn a shitload, and then marry somebody else or whatever. But that's not what I'm talking about. All of those things are great. Everybody has learned so much through marriage. Marriage is a beautiful gift, and it's also one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do, because it's just, there's so much programming when it comes to what you are to be when you're married, or what you are expected to be when you're married, and what you are expecting your partner to be when you're married. And I didn't realize how much crap and sludge had been like smeared into my cranium about what these things are. And it's been a huge learning experience, and I'm grateful to my husband for also having this kind of meta ability to step back and see the forest from the trees and see what's really going on. What is causing the emotional distress? Why are we not seeing eye to eye? And really, what's the point? And a lot of it is because of expectations and control. And I've had many ideas about what I expect and what kind of things I wish to control in my environment. And those ideas are not shared by my partner. And that's the person you rely and trust the most to be able to help you, live your life and create and manifest your life. But if they don't agree on a fundamental level with some things you're trying to do, what do you do in that situation? Well, in my opinion, you just learn. You just learn about yourself. You learn about the things that you are still perpetuating from generations of expectations, of generations of trauma, generations of, tradition, and so on. And I'm extremely lucky as the person I am and the where and the way I grew up to be honored and lucky enough to have this freedom away from traditional expectations and pressures of my family and my culture, really. In a way, I live in a very free culture, and I live in a very free thinking family. And I have had that privilege, and I still chose to marry someone in a traditional way, but in a spiritual way as well, and as a message of my faith and of my endearment, and also to combine our strength on in the old system, which was crumbling and is going through a major amount of transformation, and to move it and transform it and like really get a true, template of what it is to be in a monogamous, loving partnerships of the opposite sexes. I would say, just like a female and a male who are identifying as a man and a woman, or a male and a female, I guess I should say, people who identify as male and female, and who could, if they're in perfect health, create life through the combination of their bodies and their energies, and what that means on such an intense level to continue on life and on in a journey together with those two opposing forces, which is also what I wrote down, the yin and the yang. So we've had this conversation again. I'm not talking to you like out of secret. Like, my husband's moderating this right now. He knows. We've talked about this a million times, and it's been such a beautiful process to like understand and see why we get triggered with each other. Because again, we get it. We see each other on a soul level. We get what's up. Like, we understand, which is why we got married, which is why we've been together and being basically hip to hip since we came together in a relationship. And the universe has had us that way too. The universe is not, I mean, I guess at one point it did tear us apart, but in a way it was also our choice to separate, and then we had to come get our crap together and come back together. And then since then we've been a team, and through thick and thin we've gotten through it and been each other's number one support system. And the yin and the yang energy is also a part of this divine template that I want to talk about. Another thing that was brought up was polygamy, I think it was, or polyamory, which is another thing I'm seeing coming up a lot in people in my age group. And again, right away, it hits me as a mind control programming as well. It's something that I think is popular in cultures or people that are influenced by pornography and by the more intense media, like I would say, like things that are rated R and so on, where there is all of these terms and opportunities for you to express your sexual liberation and to be a free, sovereign being with your sexuality. And I wanted to talk about that too, as part of this divine template of partnership of the sexually reproducing beings that we are, because that's what they call us in science. We are not asexual. We do not just like split off a piece of ourselves, an exact clone copy. We need to mix gametes and sex cells to make another one of us, which is going to be a unique combination of the DNA of both instead of just the one, and so on. And it's there. And so for life to continue on in our species, there has to be a divine template of the mixing of these two sexes, of these two bodies. And that sacredness has been in my life and in my visual has been deeply questioned and perverted and subverted in many, many, many ways. And a lot of them have been with the lack of spiritual understanding when it comes to getting married, lack of spiritual understanding when it comes to being in a relationship, lack of spiritual understanding when it comes to having children. And a lot of these things are coming up in conversation now. A lot of people like you are practicing these more spiritual, conscious ways of being together, and spiritual conscious ways of raising children, and spiritual conscious ways of getting married, and so on. And also uncoupling yourselves, and so on, because you've grown on your path and you've learned that you don't want to share energy with this person anymore, because it's not what you're creating together is not something that's making you both happy. It's making something worse, or you don't want to create together or whatever. And that's okay. Expectations are being met and so on. Those things happen. But I think a lot of people rush into divorce, and I think a lot of people rush into splitting up sometimes when things get hard and when things start to push on you. And it's not all roses and daisies and sunshine, but your deepest, darkest crap is all of the sudden coming to the surface and being exposed and shown to you and thrown out and in your face, and it's poison coming out of your mouth. Things you would never say are coming out of your mouth because you're being pushed so much. And this is, in my opinion, what I'm learning more about: the Kundalini and Chi energy, and the yin and yang energy, and this divine template of being married. And so the yang energy is the outward electric energy, according to my knowledge. Of course, I don't have a whole Taoist background of all this stuff, okay? I'm working on what I have. But the yang energy is said to be the electric outward energy. It is said to be the energy, in a way, of a more masculine energy, because the masculine, again, if you think about how people sexually reproduce, the energy comes out of the male and into the female. And the female energy is the yin energy. It's the magnetic energy. It's the receptive energy. And that is more of a feminine quality, again, because that's what shows up in the template of sexually reproducing females and males. The females receive and the males release, and they send energy. And obviously you guys know that. You don't need a sex ed education from me. Maybe you do. Maybe that'll be the next one. If you need it, I've got it. I've got a great plethora of things about sex education. That's what I first thought I was going to do when I grew up, was going to be a sex educator. But I've learned since then that there's so much more that I have yet to remember. Maybe when I get a little older, maybe when I'm like a cool 50-year-old lady with really cool glasses and like a big old necklace and like telling everybody about good, I don't know, about sacred sexuality and so on, from all my travels and learnings across the world of gurus and all that, and in Kundalini energy, whatever. Those are things I'd like to learn more about, just because I think it's been so lost and so broken from Western culture that I would love to just learn. And I'm reading a book right now, so I'm learning. But the book says that learning about Kundalini energy and increasing your chi is not going to help you if you are emotionally distressed, if you have depression or anxiety. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire, doing Kundalini exercises with yourself or with your partner. If your fire within is not steady and balanced, if it's sad or depressed or angry or whatever, suppressed, throwing gasoline, which is increasing Kundalini energy and chi flow, which you can do through personal or through exercise and so on. It doesn't have to be sexual at all. It's just sexual energy, life-giving energy is the chi. And they teach you how to store it and so on. But again, if you aren't happy, and if you are depressed or you have some darkness in you, again, doing these practices or being in a relationship and working your Kundalini energy with a partner, it can throw gasoline on the fire that's already not going so well for you. And reading this was like, oh, I wish I read this earlier, because this is definitely what's been happening in my body, and it's been happening a long time, but it's okay because now I'm reading the books about it and I'm understanding. And what they recommend is exercise called the inner smile. And it's basically just imagining and like closing your eyes and just letting the sensation of a smile come from within you and smile out from within you. And you just hold that smile and breathe and just like live in that feeling of a smile and just allow all your cells to smile And despite everything, just smile out of spite if it has to be. Like, smile out of the beauty of creation, that it can always exist, and just smile and get your vibe right. Take care of yourself. Figure that out. And the yin and the yang energy that is embodied in the male and the female, you can have yin yang energy within you as well, but more so the males are are usually yang, and more so the females are yin, because of our sexual template, in my opinion. And from what I've read, that seems to be the direction that the logic's moving. But handling this energy, again, takes a lot of conscious effort. And the manifesting energy is what they say is the the yin, the magnetic. And so as a woman in a woman's body who has female sexual energy, yin energy, I have to work more on sitting and being receptive to the energy of the universe, and storing it within myself, as for me as well as for a potential fetus. In a way, that's kind of how they teach it, is like you get this storage of energy. And if you're pregnant, you're not supposed to try and move your chi away from that area. You're supposed to try and keep your chi here. But as a woman who's not pregnant, you move your chi and that energy that you soak up from the universe to allow it to move in. You can use it in a way at your discretion in yang ways when necessary. And ironically, I just watched the new Mulan last night, and they went off the whole time about chi, and they were like, the women cannot have chi, because then you're a witch. You cannot use your chi for being a warrior, because then you're a witch. And that was how they went into it. And she was like, well, I'm using my chi, and I've got an amazing amount of chi, and I'm here to save the world. And they just eventually accepted her for that, because she was such a badass. And that was so funny. But it was interesting. It showed that, and that Taoist sort of background. And a friend of mine, she talks all about this. She has a Taoist background. She was born in China, and she has those ancestors, and she's teaching about this. Her name's Z, Earth Star Healer. She also has a YouTube channel. I love her stuff and her work, and her knowledge has taught me a lot too. She's brought in a lot of these practices into her own life and these books and so on, and it made me think of her, this Mulan movie. But it also made me think of myself, because this movie as a child was a major activator to me. It showed me that the woman could be the hero. It showed me the woman that could save the world. She had the strength. She had the chi to do it. And I didn't believe that as a child, because I wasn't led to believe that. And then they built off of it like another upgraded information and made it more adult. And they were like, this is chi, and you must have. And they also taught them they needed to fight. They needed to fight in honor and in truth and with bravery, and for putting family above all. And only when they had honor and when they did this with true good intentions could they win, because there was no holes in their chi. But the enemy has holes in their chi because they're working off of no morals. They don't have these levels of godly, knowing the laws of the universe. They didn't care. So they have way more holes in their chi. They would always fall. And so cultivating your sexual energy or your chi energy into your muscles, into the tips of your fingers for healers, just meditating, and your body will automatically, just as a woman, begin to bring in this energy. And then you can use it for healing, and you can use it to take care of your children and your family and your home. But with men, they say they use their chi. Their chi is more outward going all the time. And so they more so accomplish by putting out there. But they also have to have their own yin time where they're absorbing again. And they absorb all this energy too to use. So both bodies, in a way, they do the similar thing. But more so the male versus female can have more access over which direction the energy is flowing, in my opinion. But it's an interesting thing. So as a woman in the house, I have a lot of males I have my husband, I have my 2 male dogs, I have my male bird, all of which are very intelligent beings, also are very yang heavy beings, and they're constantly expressing themselves through voice, through literal body checks and movements, and wanting to be held and touched and they want to engage, they express energy a lot more. And as one of the yin members of the house, me, the cat is the female, and the little tiny bird, Isis, is the female, but we are more so sitting in the receptive mode, and I'm the most receptive one in the house for sure for all this energy as the matriarch. And sometimes I'm like, whoa, like I'm being overwhelmed by yang energy right now, and I'm yinning way too much of this, like way too abrasive energy. So it's interesting how there has to be this balance, and I think that that's also the case in marriage, and understanding the actual way that the two bodies channel chi and channel energy, and what their evolutionary goals are and that are in our DNA. It helps you relate to each other, because you are actually designed slightly differently in the way you channel energy. So it makes sense that you don't see eye to eye to how to operate on everything, because how we operate is literally based off of how we move chi around on a very basic level. And I'm just scratching the surface of this, so I'd be happy to talk about it more, but I'm glad to like hold space and talk about it. And I'm seeing the comments. Yes, Jace is mentioning that there's some people who are like, they want a partner in their life that they want to exchange energy with and grow and be strong. So if you and your partner can work your chi and work in combination, where I'm not spending too much of my yang energy outward, because that's not my strength as much as a woman for the most part, unless you're really cultivated, which I'm working on. I'm working on getting that storage back. I realize I've depleted my storage just through living a very high anxiety life in a way, and doing a lot of changes and shifts, and having a Kundalini awakening and becoming ungrounded and so on. I'm regaining that like storage, which they call something else, but right now I'll just call it a storage of chi. But there's another name for it that I always forget, but I should know because I'm talking about it, and I definitely need to work on it. It'll probably be in the next page of my book. But if I'm expressing too much outward, which is not in a way my strength in the tribe, to a certain degree compared to the male, then I will become depleted, and then my ability to actually absorb energy and absorb new things into our reality as the manifesting magnet person, of the one that attracts life force in, I will have a harder time doing that. And it's just going to overall cause the house to have an imbalance and the relationship to have an imbalance. And then again, if your partner, who is more of the yang being, is only or is more so cultivating more yin energy, then again, they're out of balance with their own electrical circuitry from what it is that is their strength a lot of the time, which is this ability to yang. And so when these things are out of balance, it causes many questions. And I believe that it's not only just us personally, we're recovering and repairing from overspending of energy from generations because of slavery and because of war and because of the mind control that's been going on. And there is the really ancient practice of this energy cultivation, and as well as sharing of responsibilities in the home, and a way of communicating respect, and a way of taking care of yourself and making sure that you aren't becoming a burden to someone else and expecting other people to help you, like your own parents. Even some children were raised to not do anything for themselves in the home or anything to aid their parents with the home. And then they've grown up with a very lost understanding of who's supposed to be responsible for them and all of their mess and their activities and their needs. And it's a very disempowered state to be in. And there's a lot of kids out there in my age group especially who are struggling with that. They're also struggling with what sacred sex is and what a sacred relationship is with someone, and how tainted their energies get when they share their sexual energy too much with people they wouldn't even trust with their car or with their bike or with their dog or with their wallet or whatever. Like, you're sharing something more sacred than all these objects you own with people you do not trust or care enough about, that causes a major depletion and poisoning, I think, of your energy body too. And there's so many couples out there who are struggling to know if monogamy is really the right choice for them. And to these people, I say, I've read something and I don't even really know where. I thought it was the Law of One, but now I'm not even sure. But what I read, and it's stuck in my mind for a long time, was that there was once upon a time a civilization that elevated into a heart chakra space and a more loving space. So in a way, being the love that you have for other beings around you was more increased. And in that society, they experimented with, even though they were very conscious and loving, experimented with polyamory and would have multiple partners. They would maybe be monogamous or have a partner, but also allow themselves sexual freedom to engage with other people. And that civilization was trying to be conscious about all of this, but they could not move to the next stage of collective conscious trust and welfare because of the harm that was always outweighing the gain of this polyamorous style of. And as an evolutionary thing, it was against evolution versus towards evolution. And so in a way, the most evolutionary and least harm thing to do seems to be being in a monogamous relationship to another monogamous relationship. But once you're in a monogamous relationship, that's the person. That's the person you're cultivating now your own chi with, and you're sharing the most intimate energetic bond with. And everybody that they touch is going to, again, be in their system, and everybody that you touch is going to be in your system. And keeping that in mind for your partner's sake, as well as your own, is extremely sacred. And so being so careful about who and what you engage with energetically because of your partner's health as well as your own is the most mutually beneficial way to survive and be healthy and evolve and prolong the species, basically. Always grow a communal trust in the collective consciousness, because knowing, that this married couple, that person's not going to be cheating on their wife with you because it's just not sacred. It's not what we do. We know that the costs outweigh the gain for the whole society. And it's in the society's best interest that you stay firm in your monogamous relationship, because it breaks down the whole fabric of trust and the whole collective consciousness if you don't. That's a lot of pressure, but it's also, again, it's a natural way to do things. So if you're having these feelings and thoughts that you need to be out there and still spreading your seed and so on, I invite you to really meditate on what it is you're actually searching for and what you're not getting. And a lot of the time, it's the love that you're not feeling and getting, and you're expecting someone else to love you to a certain amount and give you these things and do these things for you and fulfill all your expectations and make your life better than it was. People are not going to be able to do that for you. You're the only one that can do that for yourself. You need to love yourself the most. You need to love yourself so much that if, that there is no doubt in your mind that anything else that, when someone else comes up to you offering you energy, if it's not, love, you'll know it's not love, because you know what love feels like, because you love yourself that much. And then when someone else does approach you and they are giving you love and they do share love, you will know what that feels like, because again, you love yourself, and this person may show you love that you've not even been able to show yourself because you didn't even fathom that you could do that or you could love yourself that way. And it's an emotional thing to say, but it's true. And I want to display these positive revelations about being in a monogamous relationship and the strength that it gives you. It's this deep, grounded trust that you can form with somebody if you do genuinely have and hold each other to that level of respect. And you'll know right away when someone's not doing that for you. And then you'll know that, you can go off and love yourself much better. And then maybe you should, because because you're worth it, and you loving yourself is your responsibility too. Because if you're not loving yourself, then that just spirals into more and more chaotic behaviors that'll just bleed out into the collective and cause more trouble. And so you can't disconnect yourself from the community. Your responsibility is to love yourself. And then if you find someone where you just can't help to love them just as much as you love yourself, then that's a huge blessing. But it's also going to be a huge lesson, because they're going to show you things about yourself that you didn't even know you were doing, and the things and the distortions that you have about what you think life should be like or what other people should do. They'll show you otherwise, but there's nothing you'll just still love them. There'll be something you'll be like, you can't push them away, because for some reason you just still love them so much. And that's what I think. I'm sure many old couples who are married probably listening to this and they're like, yep. And I hope that's the case. But I'm, again, a young person, recently married person. So I'm not the expert in all of this, really. Logically, I'm not. But I'm sharing what I have. Oh, yes, Jing. I think Jing is maybe the storage word, but we'll see. Is chi used for healing and psychic surgery? Yes, of course. And again, in the practice of Tantra and with a partner, it doesn't have to be sexual. Again, we don't have to go down that road at all. We really don't, to have this conversation. You just putting your hands on someone that you fully trust, your chi interaction and your interaction of so on, that can help somebody. That's literally medicine that you're sharing with one another. The actual physical contact of the most dense part of our energy, which is our flesh, that is so concentrated. That's the concentration of chi. This thing you're sitting in is a concentration of chi. There's an amorphous cloud around you of chi that's much larger, and it's your whole electromagnetic field. It's like 6 feet around you at least. 3 feet one way, 3 feet the other, maybe 6 feet both ways. And that's also why maybe they told you to be 6 feet apart in the supermarket, because then your energy bodies can't even brush up against each other. At least if you're a unhealthy person. Some people's auric fields are much bigger. But I would say manage the size of your auric fields if you can, because having them expanded out all the time will make you catch a lot more, what's the word? Information. You'll be sensing more things than maybe you'll want to all the time. So again, you can pull your chi in when you're meditating, when you're becoming the yin energy. Magnetic, pull it in. Yang, out. So yes, that's just the convoluted thing that I wanted to share with you. But yeah, it's very healing. And to know that you can fully trust somebody and that they've been careful with their own, and careful and reverent, and hold their own chi energy as just as sacred as you do. And that's a great level of trust. And as a healer, you can heal one another with that energy and help each other out and help clear emotional blockages in your system. That's happened to me so many times in this relationship. It hadn't happened to me in others nearly as much. I'm more aware of it now, but sometimes it'll just touch me on the shoulder, and then I'll be crying, and then a memory will come through, and I'll have to release something, a trauma that I didn't even know was there, but it was. And then it does help, and I am lighter and better. And that's another beautiful part of having this divine union between the two energetic body types, in a way, and the beauty of that, which I'm exploring more now and learning more about, and grateful to talk to all of you about, of course. This is so funny. All right. Okay, so the next thing I have is the terms want versus need. And I can make this one kind of short, of course, but the want versus need theme for sure has been a huge one, again, that's been coming through, and really working in on manifesting the things that you need versus the things that you want, and not allowing your emotions to be attached to things that you want. not allowing your attachments to be towards things that you want, because that can cause a lot of, that's like a chi investment, and then when that investment doesn't fall through, you just lose that chi. Instead of, you could probably gain it back if you have, that way, but again, it's like wasting your chi on something that you want, and if that thing doesn't turn out, then you've lost the chi. Instead, knowing that you're going to receive what you need and having ultimate faith in that, it allows you not, again, that energy is coming back into you. You know that through faith and in your heart that you will receive what you need to learn the soul lessons that you want or the soul lessons that you need in this lifetime. And then all the things that you want, don't put as much of an energetic investment in those things, because that can drain you very much. If you have your energy spread out at all these things in the future and around you that you want, then it's taking away from the core of your energy, in my opinion. And so I wanted to bring that up and see what you thought about that. Another thing that came through for all of this and in relation to all that. And finally, I wanted to ask you all for fun, and then I'll do a reading. A card for everybody is object permanence is the last thing I wrote. My husband and I have been joking around because, again, in our marriage, and this is something I found is common between male and female marriages, is that there is something going on where the male is often the one looking for an object in their environment, and the object, they just cannot seem to locate it. And then, of course, they begrudgingly have to reach out to the woman in the house and be like, can you help me find this object I'm looking for? And that object's sitting right there, right where it's supposed to be, where they say they had looked multiple times, and there it is. And so I wanted to know, because again, we're experiencing that. In psychology, I feel like they would go into the DSM-5. Like if I was still in psychology and I didn't have all these other resources at hand, they'd go into the DSM-5 and be like, okay, so object permanence can be distracted from certain issues with the brain, and certain attention issues, and certain memory issues, and certain whatever. But sometimes it could literally be one person's like vibrating in one reality and another person's vibrating in the other reality, and there is this like bridge or this like incoherence that's happening between you and your own reality. And what does that mean to people? And I'm curious about what you want to say about this, if that's happened to you, and what you know about object permanence in your reality, and maybe some suggestions on how to kind of pull that in, like ground yourself more, so the objects that maybe you haven't been able to perceive but you need help to see will become more obvious to you in your world. Because I've been curious about that on my own, in our own life, of course, but as a psychologist as well, and somebody who knows that children also do this a lot, and it's a fascinating thing. Your glasses are on your face. Exactly. And so I kind of just wanted to be like, I wonder what this really is, because in a way, they actually say people who are autistic, schizophrenic. I'm sure autistic too, but people who are schizophrenic, their brains tend to hover at around 10 hertz, but ours hover at around 7 or 8 hertz. And so these people literally think and exist in another vibration than most people, the people who have schizophrenia. And so they perceive things that are hanging out in those vibrations that other people just don't perceive with their brainwave potential. And so is it possible that times between males and females even, that their brains are literally vibrating at a different speed and different rate than the environment that they're in, and they cannot engage, and they're having a harder time grounding and seeing and perceiving object permanence in their reality? And then perhaps women are more grounded in general, because I think it's because we have that lower center of gravity, as well as our of our womb and so on. We pull in a lot of energy, and we have groundedness more so, and that's again to as well have children, but we tend to be more of the more dense being and more vibrating, and so we don't experience this lack of object permanence as much, and that's why we are that reliable resource in a way for the males, because they're vibrating out of resonance with their environment. And is there a way to remedy that? And in my opinion, it would just be more of a meditative state, like having the males, when you start getting anxious and you realize objects aren't showing up and you're having a hard time even perceiving objects in your reality, maybe that's a sign, maybe, that you need to slow down, that you need to ground yourself a little more, because they're not present. They're in a different world, and they're wanting to be in one world, but they're top heavy gone in another world. Their eyes and their brain cannot even see what's in front of them. So where is their brain really? And I'm wondering if anyone knows anything about that, because I'm obviously observing that in my life a lot, and we just joke about it because it's so common. I've heard about this enough times where I'm like, this is normal. But again, is it normal? Because I know not every male is like that, and not every female, not every male needs to call out to their mom or their wife or their sister to find objects in their life. Maybe it has something to do with a hyperactive mind, ADHD or ADD, something of those lines, or so on. They're vibrating at a different pace, and it's harder for them to actually ground and see the objects in their reality. Like, it's interesting. So I would recommend, if you find that you are having a hard time finding things, that maybe it's time to get back in touch with yourself and kind of get your brain waves and your groundedness back. And because nobody wants to be your babysitter and look after you and help you find all the things around you all the time. If that's the way it's got to have to be, and you're some type of super genius and you got to be in that vibratory space, but you can't find, your glasses or whatever, then you probably are going to attract a partner who's going to be able to help you fill in that gap. And that's a beautiful thing and a blessing too. But I wonder if there is a remedy for that, because it's probably not always the best if you lose something and your partner that you rely on is not there. What's a technique you can use to help you get back grounded and find the thing that you need to find? Because you need to find it, and you probably will. Just the lack of being able to find it will probably cause that person to slow down and to get interrupted in their hyper flow and finally ground enough and maybe find the object. But I'm curious. I'm seeing some comments now. I totally believe the ADHD part. My girlfriend has always lost things, and I have to find stuff all the time. Makes sense, and I'm grateful that you do. But again, that's another part of their life lesson, is because, finding objects in your reality, even blind moles have to figure out a way to find things in their reality through their senses. So it would be nice to have some helpful techniques for people who are suffering with that experience more. My niece last week asked me, "Are you leaving already? Your phone is going to stay here if you leave." And she meant that I was too distracted, that I would have to leave my phone. She channeled really hard and had me center myself at that moment. Oh yes, they do notice how much we're on our devices. My dog gives me lectures in his mind. He'll look at me just like so sad and disappointed in me sometimes when I'm on my phone too long, and I'm just like, man, we all gotta learn. I always had to locate things for my husband. I'm great at finding things. I am too. I have that psychic ability where it's like, boom, I know exactly where it is. If I don't know where it is, if I just don't know, the picture of it will often come into my mind, and then I walk and find it, and there it is. And I'm grateful for that ability. But I believe we all have those abilities. I would ask myself, what energy is this for me, and what energy am I to attract this? Maybe that could help the space increases for something different to show up with your mate. What energy is this for me? Oh yeah, okay, so exactly, what is the lesson for me in this scenario, and what energy am I to attract this? Exactly. So it's good. I'm glad that you're throwing it back on me, because that's a good point. And it is like, why is this happening to me? What am I doing to continually attract this in my reality? And it's irritating sometimes, or not irritating, but you know, it's distracting to me to disregard and be pulled into helping or whatever. So that's, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that point of view. That's why I do these, because it's like, yes, more ideas, because you know, spend a lot of time thinking about all these things. So yeah, I believe that is all that I've wrote on my whiteboard this round. It's been a longer video, of course. It's been an hour and 45 minutes apparently. It gets that way sometimes, but I'm glad that we were all hanging out together. I see about 20 viewers on YouTube, and I see about 7 people on Instagram. I feel like the Instagram crowd has more of an ADHD thing. Like, they'll see a live and then they'll like leave right away. I don't know what they want from me. They want me to just be juggling and singing and doing the can, and maybe they'll be entertained long enough to watch. But Instagram's funny. It's like people show up and they're like, oh no, and they leave. It's funny. YouTubers tend to stick around through the whole thing. It's more of a watching platform. Instagram's more of an instant gratification platform. So it's just funny to compare the two. I've been trying to, what? I'm just reading you out of context. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So all of you that are still hanging out, I would love to offer you a tarot card for today from my new deck, which was part of my gift to myself, or I guess part of my gifts for the last of 2020. My family sent me some money and I went and invested into some new books and tarot cards. So for everybody, because I needed to switch it up and learn some new things. So tarot has been my way to like read and learn a lot, and it's just a medium that I engage with more, because every tarot deck has a book, but they also have pictures and also the randomization and also the channeling part, where you're like asking source to give you something out of this whole thing, or out of the pages of this book. What is it that you need to read right now that would serve you the most? I love that concept and I've used it a lot. So this is the one that I've recently got for myself, the Herb Crafter's Tarot, because I wanted to learn more about herbology, and I wanted to know more herbs and like herbs, and figure out what they're good for, and give myself some more plant medicine background knowledge, because again, I want to know more. I want to help more. And I think that plants and so on that you can grow, which is what I want to do, is just grow a whole property full of all of these types of medicines that would be helpful, and just be one of those people in the community. But this is a traditional tarot with herbal knowledge, which is cool. And so I was thinking today, what herbal medicine maybe we would all be able to bring use to in our health and our lives, and see what the deck gave us, as well as, of course, the tarot card message that goes along with it. So without further ado, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for saying thank you for hosting this. I really love doing this. I only want to be able to host more space and hang out with more awesome people like us, and discuss more things with everyone. All right, so let's see what we're going to get for everybody today. Dear Source, may I please do a reading for all the mind, body, spirit complexes that are presently watching this video stream, and those who are on the replay. What theme, what herbal medicine would be of service to us in this time of our healing, of our growth and expansion, our evolution? What message would be of most service to all of us at this time? It's interesting. Usually by now a card flies out, so there it goes. Ah! And I dropped them all. They're so beautiful too. I can't wait to show and work with these more, because I don't know why, I love them. I definitely want to make a tarot deck one day, but the one I'm making is way more simple than some of this artwork. I just love artwork so much. I could walk through art museums every weekend. It's just one of my favorites. All right. Do we have? Oh, okay, wait, just for fun. Just for fun, I would like you all to just imagine an herbal remedy in your head right now. What do you think it is? Just for fun. Just trying your psychic powers a little bit, okay? Just I'm going to give you a second. Just really think about it. Really think about what you want to do. Okay. Are you ready? Lavender is the one that we got. That's a good one. That's a good one. I mean, lavender comes up a lot when it comes to healing herbal remedies as well as like relaxing yourself. It's also the crown chakra color. So it's helpful for activating and as well as healing the crown. But yeah, here's the little picture of the little garden of lavender. Oh, I would just love to grow lavender one day. And I got the purple lips on today. I'm excited. That makes me good. Good vibes. I'm gonna like do some lavender. I have lavender bath salts right now. Maybe that's what I'll do after this. That's a good recommendation. Okay, so the actual card as well as the lavender is the Four of Air, or that's the Four of Swords. So why don't we look up, I'm going to read it to you because again, this is a new deck, so there's a whole new interpretation of this, but oh, isn't this book so cute too? I just love it. Really cute deck. Thank you, Letitia Guthrie and Joanne Powell Colbert. You are some talented people, and I appreciate this little book of tarot cards that you made for all of us. Shout out. Shout out. You know, they're all watching, right? Okay. Here we go. Oh, they organized this book different. That's so funny. They did it by... Anyways, all right, let's see. Okay, so lavender, Four of Air, lavandula species. Withdraw behind borders. Calm the body and mind. Pause to cherish the present moment. A tall lavender plant grows at the edge of a garden. It is the height of summer, and the intoxicating fragrance fills the air. A basket rests nearby, partially filled with gathered flowers. Shoes and gloves have been removed. Tools sit unused on the earth. A small snail inches by, and the bees are buzzing. Contemplation precedes action. Build a foundation for deeper understanding. Create space for rest and pull away from the outside world. Lavender is a popular border plant. The strong scent keeps unwanted animals from entering the garden, and the woody stems keep other plants from encroaching. Interesting. Put up strong boundaries and retreat behind them. Commitment to self-care eases conflict in other areas of your life. Amen. Lavender clears the air and relieves tension. Let your emotions settle and your mind relax. Take a break from gathering thoughts and ideas. You have already learned so much. Allow what you have studied to sink into your bones. It says crafting with the Four of Air. Make a lavender wand. Use it to create boundaries from unwanted energies. That's kind of cool. Just like gather a bunch of lavender up and just use it as like a wand. I use it with like my selenite. I have a selenite wand to help like clear myself. But a lavender wand might be fun. It's not quite lavender season for some of us, but some of you it is. Getting closer to that anyways, I think. It says keep lavender oil with you for instant calm. Make a palm tent and slowly breathe it in and out. So that's like this. Put it in your hands and you know what I mean? Put some lavender oil in there, and when you're having a freak out and you're overwhelmed, it's good vibes. I'm just imagining it's already working. Carry a lavender sachet in your pocket, as the grandmothers did, and inhale the scent all day long. It's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good. Loving it. Let's see what your responses are. Okay. Great deck choice. Yes, of course. calm down with some lavender today. Yeah, we need to chill. We need to chill. Take some lavender. Put some boundaries up for some self-care. If people are wearing you out and stirring you out with their anxiety and their freakouts, get some lavender in between the two of you and take some self-care time. That's some great advice. Intention is everything. Lavender is in my garden. Summer here in New Zealand. Yeah, that's right. I was just thinking about you guys in New Zealand. I love lavender. Clarity was the word I thought, and saw myself relaxing. I laughed when you read the card. I took a walk in the winter garden today and found my lavender was thriving. Excelente. So yes, more lavender in your life. If you haven't had any lavender today and you have it in your house, any essential oil or whatever it is that you have, lavendery. If you don't, maybe go get some or order some for yourself, because lavender is definitely one of the, I probably would say, like the top 5 herbal remedies for emotional clearing and support. I would say, yeah, I would say that. Yeah, I would say that was it's a good one for that. So, excelente. So we are complete for the day. We are complete for the day. Everything is coming to a completion. Thank you all very much for enjoying this moment with me, conversating about the things that have pushed through my brain, helping me, bouncing it off of me, helping me see new perspectives and so on about these topics, and also allowing me to like share my thought process so I can also process it myself and get it out of my system and allow more, my ocean to become more vast and healthy. And I appreciate that there is this back and forth between us. I briefly checked the space weather before I went on, just in case I needed to announce anything to all of you. So far, I'm seeing nothing too insane, but I will have to keep looking because it could have changed this hour, 2 hours that I've been live. So, but I don't feel anything too crazy right now. So we'll look into that. I'll let you know if anything does happen. If you're not already a member of my website, ascensiondiaries.com, I just launched it this January. I'm offering a monthly membership for only $1 a month right now as a celebratory offer and a generous offer to give to people out there, because instead of creating an app for myself and working with the app stores and so on, I decided that making a website for myself was a lot more of a solid option. And instead of buying my app, I would encourage you to become a $1 membership. So if I do, disappear off of social media or whatever happens, for as long as you like, you can be a member and get all of the options and all of the classes and everything that I offer for just $1 a month. And then this is just because of January. This is the deal. And I also offer $11 a month for a membership, and as well as $40 a month if you would like a personal reading every month as well. So I will be I just offer that to you. I encourage you to go over there. If you don't want to give $1 or anything at all, but you still want to keep up with my website, you can just join your email and put it in there. And if there's any emergency announcements, you'll get it from me. But yeah, that's the offer. That's what's going on. And yeah, join the Telegram group chat if you want and hang out with us and be on the instant messenger conversation of this collective that we've gathered together. People who like the content I make. You guys all have something in common. Usually it's you're awesome. So yeah, come along to the group chat. Just gonna put some lavender oil in your beard right now. Excellent. I wish I had a beard to do that. Maybe I'll put it in my husband's beard and then I'll just stay really close to him. All right. Well, I think I'm going to be ending today's video. Thank you very, very much for joining. It was nice to see all of you. Hi, Tessa. Hi, Amanda. It's lovely to share this time.